This episode of St James's Pod is brought to you by Vixen Hair. The extension specialists have 2 locations here in Brisbane, as well as a mobile service. So if you're looking to achieve the hairdo of your dreams, look no further than vixenhair.com.au and tell them St James's Pod sent you. Enjoy the episode. Another episode of St James's Pod. I'm here with Pete and Tom. We're going to go over the Carabao Cup game that we've just managed to get through as Newcastle United beats Crystal Palace on penalties. This is going to be a little bit of a strange one because only one of us has managed to watch 90 minutes of football. Pete, me and you struggled to get a stream for this one, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't think there was any streams kicking about. Unfortunately, I was absolutely racking the internet, racking me legal fire stick and tried to find the game, but I could not get it anywhere. And then to top it off, I tried to put BBC Newcastle on my Alexa, but it doesn't do local radio stations, so I just give up and I was just following it on Twitter. But Tom was there, weren't you?
Second game of the season that I've been up to St James's, and it was another thrilling contest. I was at the Palace league game earlier, of the season. So yeah, this was 2 games against Palace and 2 pretty poor games, really. But yeah, at least we got the result this time.
So you're basically just a Palace fan at this point.
I might as well be, yeah. I
don't think we really expected a massive game like did we? I don't think we expected an out flash.
No.
We'll go back to the predictions, and you two both predicted it would go to penalties. I think you both said 1-1, didn't you?
Yeah, I said 1-1.
There was no goals in 90 minutes, but got the pen shootout correct. Let's go over the starting lineup then. Obviously, from our point of view, we made, was it 7, 8 changes?
8, I think. I think it was 8.
8 changes. What did you think when you saw the starting lineup? Because obviously there's players coming in there that haven't had much league minutes, but still, to me, you looked like a decent team. It's kind of what I expected.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is what we expected. We expected the likes of Lascelles to come in and John Joe to start. You expected your big hitters to be rested, like Chris Wood starting up front and stuff like that. The one thing I was looking forward to was seeing Elliot Anderson. I really wanted him to start, and I'm glad he did. But like you said, Tommy, you were saying before that he started on the right when I think his best position's on the left. From what we've seen, so was that his full debut, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
not from the start. Well, it's his first or second start, but it's obviously not going to be ideal for him. He's not playing in his preferred position. But I was glad to see him start and get some minutes in the tank. Yeah, I think we expected the changes that happened. I think.
I would say the same. I think I predicted pretty much the defence would be as it was, reshuffled like that, and Byrne coming into the centre of defence. We haven't really seen Byrne and Lascelles as a centre half partnership too many times, if any, since Byrne's been at the club. Obviously, good to see Targett back, as we haven't had that. We've talked quite a bit about this in previous episodes about the lack of balance on the left side when it comes to making attacks from the back. So it was good that Targett came in just to see how that would work and allow Byrne that chance to play as centre half. Midfield wise, yeah, it was to be expected, those changes. It was good, obviously, for Shelvey to get those minutes in, and just to really see what he's like now that we have quite an established midfield three at the moment. So just to throw Shelvey in there just to see if he's the hard work that he was doing over the summer and getting his fitness back might have worked out in this game. And then the front three was good to see Anderson start, but Wood and Maxi obviously coming back in was great for him to get minutes just before the Chelsea game, as we're obviously hoping to see him maybe get a start in that one.
How did they look live, Paige? Obviously, being Sam couldn't watch the game, but how did you like Shelby and Maxi, obviously after coming out from injuries and stuff like that? Even targeting the cells who won't get regular game time. Did they look sharp? Did they look fit?
Fitness wise, I would say that they were on point for that. Match sharpness though, very 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 much way behind the rest.
All of them.
It was. I'd say. Well, Maxi particularly was just didn't look his sharp self. His touch was pretty awful in the game. Just couldn't get anything going in the first half. Shelby misplaced a few passes. The target wasn't particularly linking up as well as we know he can with Maxi, and that partnership we talked about in the past episodes, that they've got a nice link up between them, but you could tell that needs to be worked on again and just getting that practice of playing again with each other, because they just weren't linking up as nicely and making those kind of runs off each other. Manquillo, he doesn't look like the same player that had that run in the team before Trippier arrived. I think he's probably regressed a bit, I would say.
Time's running out.
So probably. Obviously, with Kraft being out, he knows he's very much the backup at the moment, at least for the rest of the season. But I can't see him sticking around for much longer after that, because the quality just isn't there from him. And it's maybe a bit harsh on Manquillo, because a player like Trippier is, streets ahead of him. We all know that, but it's just so evident when you take Trippier out of the team and put somebody like Manquillo in there, that they just cannot match the same output that Trippier can bring. And Manquillo did not offer anything really. I'd say it was pretty poor performance from him. And really, first half wise, it was dreadful, I would say.
I was just going to say, when you're talking about Manquillo regressing, do you think that is correct, or do you think it's because we've seen the likes of Kraft come in and improve his game, and then we've got used to Trippier playing there week in, week out, so then it's just that gulf is very noticeable when he comes back in? Or do you think he has regressed a little bit, being out the team and having injuries and stuff?
Maybe a bit of both. I think I don't want to be too harsh on him, but we know Trippier brings so much to the game now with his set pieces and even just the free balls he makes, like the one he did against Southampton, just splitting the defence with that ball through to Willock. You don't get that from Manquillo, and defensively, maybe he can still offer something defensively, but he just had no attacking output at all in that game against Palace. It was something which he has had in the past. I think when we didn't have Trippier and we were working with Manquillo and Kraft as our fullbacks, I definitely would have put Manquillo as the clear front runner in that. But now I do think that he has regressed that much that he's now very much a third choice, and if not, needs to be replaced with another similar player that is versatile like Manquillo is. We can throw him in on the left if we need to, but I think his time at the club, at least in the summer, might be at an end.
I think it's
ideally
it's a bit...
want to get a youngster in, don't we?
Yeah, that's very true. we've obviously got Lewis on the left, hasn't he? But Lewis is a sort of a forgotten man at the minute, isn't he? I thought he'd get a bit of a run out last night, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of Lewis. Like you're saying, Sam, it would be good to get a youngster in at right back because Trippier's, we all know his days are numbered. But you're right. Mankey was going to be out the door soon. I do think that poor performance has got to. It's got the fact that he hasn't played in so long. He's not getting a look in the team. It will be on his shoulders that I've got to try and impress here because I want to get back into the team. So he's got that added pressure on himself. But he's also got he hasn't played with the team. Okay, he has played with a lot of their players, but he hasn't played in the formation, in the technicalities that Eddie Howe wants. So it's all still new to him. It's almost basically pre-season for him, getting used to things again. So there is a lot of added pressure, but I do think January, summer, Mankio's gone. I think we all know that.
You got to remember as well, he's playing that right back next to Lascelles and behind Anderson. So even that, like, put him next to Cher and have Miggy in front of him. That might even improve his game.
I think, I agree, and I think the thing with that Eddie's instilled with this team is that there's partnerships all over the pitch now, and you can just tell how those players are gelling with each other, and how Miggy gels with Trippier. It works so well. Obviously, we kind of mentioned Target and to Maximin. I think that partnership will eventually get back there. Obviously, Botman and Cher are very much a solid centre-half pair. And I think when you throw somebody in, like Manquillo, into there where he hasn't developed any sort of partnership with any of those players that were in the team yesterday, you can't expect him to then, in some ways, I don't think he's at that quality where he just takes full control of the situation and just plays his game. I think he's just not that level of quality.
He almost doesn't know his place, which is hard to sort of say.
He doesn't come across as like a massively confident character anyway, does he?
No.
But we've seen this before, like in the league, when we make these big changes, when we're a few goals ahead, and we destroy all those little partnerships, we end up conceding. So a positive to come out of the game is obviously that we didn't concede in the 90 minutes. But I think that is a big thing. Is we see when the likes of Murphy come in, so we make the one change. He knows his job and he's slotting in, and it's just that one change, and it seems to work. But when we make too many all at once, it just doesn't seem to work. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes as we progress through the cup. Whether he'll learn anything from that game, or because the next fixture after the World Cup's the cup game again, isn't it? So
aye.
We'll probably be forced to rest international players.
The England boys will be getting a long-awaited rest after winning a World Cup. So
that's what I was going to say. It obviously depends how far we get, how far the teams and that get. But you've got to also think, if they weren't in the World Cup, they'd still be playing every weekend. I know there's the added travel and stuff like that, but they'd still be playing. It's not like they're playing over the summer, then having to have a break before they come back for a new season. They'd still be playing. They're still playing over the same amount of it's a more congested time slightly, but they are still playing. So it's not that much a difference. Climatising, yes, but in terms of playing wise, I don't think there's that much different, to be honest.
I think it depends if like a Trippier, say he starts at right back and England actually do go quite far through the competition. If he's playing intense international football, 90 minutes, probably like 5 or 6 games, that's going to take it out of you. But if you maybe Callum Wilson,
that's the big one, isn't it?
I don't know, like Bruno he hasn't really solidified a starting place in the Brazil squad.
No.
In like so far, I don't know. Obviously, that might change come the World Cup, but if he's on the bench for the most part, he might come back relatively fresh. Same as the boys, like who stop at home and go out to Saudi. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and also who we end up getting drawn against. Because if we get a favourable draw, there'll be no need to chuck them straight in anyway. When is the draw, by the way? Is it
Tonight, mate, after the Man U game.
Yeah.
Oh, sound.
So it's currently Thursday night.
Well, we might still be recording at this rate, so we'll bring that to you fresh. Let's just touch on the Palace starting lineup and the changes they made. Obviously, there was no Zaha in the squad at all. Tom, you might be best to pick up on this one.
Yeah, no, I thought there was a few changes which they, especially with some of their players who might be World Cup bound as well. I know that the usual midfield partnership was disrupted a little bit, and that they went with Milivojevic, who has been in the past quite a regular starter, but and I think he might still be their club captain, but he hasn't been starting recently. And then they put Will Hughes in as well. Yeah, they changed that one up a little bit, but they went with Mateta up front, who's been back up to Edouard for this season at least, and Ayew and Elise on the sort of wings supporting. So yeah, dropping Zaha out and no place for Eze either. And then yeah, Mitchell and Gay were two regular starters in the defence, but Tompkins, Ward and Klein, I think, have all been in and out of the team this season. And then the keeper, Sam Johnston, was a change also from the usual Gator in goal. So yeah, they made a quite a similar amount of changes to how we did as well, but it was still a team which has got Premier League experience and quality in there. So and I know from the game I seen earlier in the season in the league game that Elise, I was a bit worried about what he could offer in this game, because he's very much a talent and he's on form as well. I think he had scored in the previous game away at West Ham. So yeah,
he described his goal very well in his interview, didn't he?
Yeah, keeping it simple, yeah, for sure. So yeah, I was slightly concerned about what he could offer, and Mateta, to be fair, in the game,
he was shit hot.
He was good. He hassled our defenders quite a bit.
He was,
and he pulled off a good save from Pope as well.
Mateta made our defence's lack of game time stand out, because he was sharp on the ball. He was quick. He made, like, I've seen milk turn faster than Lascelles in that game. He made
getting done for pace, wasn't he?
Yeah, he sort of highlighted the difference in our starting lineup, and then obviously the sort of fringe team last night. Last night was like a team from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. All we needed was Matt Ritchie on the pitch, really.
No, you make a good point there about the lack of pace. I think they were utilising that lack of understanding between Manquillo and Lascelles and getting down that our right channel, their left, quite a lot, and that's where the real big opportunity came for them in the first half. That Pope made a really good save with, and yeah, they did.
They were on the front foot, weren't they?
They were, yeah, and also just the amount of slack passing that they were doing. Elise picked up a real good opportunity from an awful cross field ball. I think it might have been Shelby who tried a just a hospital pass right across the midfield, and Elise he looked as though he was hunting for those sort of opportunities, and he burst onto that, and again, wasted an opportunity for Palace in that first half. I think they were definitely the team on top for me in that first half. I know we had a couple of sort of chances, but they were minimal at best. I think the Pope save from Ateta was a crucial one at that moment in the game.
Quite vital, actually, because when we were talking, obviously in the last episode, I thought Karius would come in and have a shot in goal. Obviously, thankfully, didn't. I mean, it's not too much of a workout or too much. I don't know. It's not going to take too much out of the goalkeepers to play another game. Is it another midweek game? So I was definitely glad to see Pope in. It's chances like that where you think, thank God we still got Pope in, because that could have quite easily gone either way.
Yeah, I was thinking at the end of the game, like, it could have been totally different had we rested him. I think the thing with Nick Pope as well is he gets a rest pretty much every league game, doesn't he? Because he doesn't have to make any
Did he hear what he said in his interview after? I don't know, it was Keith Downey or something. Had the microphone, and Nick Pope took it off him. And he said, "Oh, sorry, I'm just used to picking things up after the pen shootout."
Yeah,
used to picking everything up.
Yeah.
Tom, just give us a little a taste of what the atmosphere was like at St James's compared to a normal league game.
Well, credit to
record attendance, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a record attendance, which you don't normally see for a third round Carabao Cup game. Yeah, I think that's testament to how Eddie's got us playing that. Even a game against Palace, having played them only a few weeks ago in the league, to then play them again in the cup, and 51,000 or so were there last night. So yeah, it was a great atmosphere for that alone. I think there was definitely, as the game was going on, there was a bit of restlessness kicking in. I think you could tell that we were just wanting something to develop a little bit in the game, which wasn't really happening. There was still a lot of singing going on, a lot of chanting and things just to try and boost the team, but it wasn't until we made that triple sub at the end of around the 70th minute mark, with bringing Bruno Botman and who was it? Bruno Botman and why is the name gone off?
Was it Miggy no? Miggy was slightly later, wasn't he?
Yeah, Miggy and Willock came on later.
Trippier.
Of course, Trippier. Yeah, that triple sub that just boosted the ground. Everybody went crazy when Bruno was announced coming on, and I think again, that's just testament to him and his form and how much the fans love him. That he's getting. That he got that boost from the crowd, and I think once those changes were made, you could just tell that we were looking to kick on and try and create some chances after that.
Yeah, and what about in terms of like the Palace fans? Because I'm assuming that's the reason it wasn't a full sellout, because our allocation was a sellout, wasn't it?
Yeah, you could fit them in a taxi. Like there was barely any of them at level 7. It was and they were quiet as anything. I think I heard them chirping up at one point saying your fans are fucking shit or something. But
the standard away chant.
Standard away chant, but literally that was all that they had to offer, and we were chanting pretty much consistently throughout. And especially when those subs were made and Bruno was on the pitch, and then when Miggy came on, obviously the Miggy chants and everything. So yeah, the atmosphere eventually picked up, but there were flat moments from in the atmosphere through portions of the game because of how poor the game was.
So speaking about the atmosphere, Paige, obviously I go to every home game, every league game. Sorry, I tend to try and stay away from cup games. And it sounds bad, but I read a bit of it on Twitter last night that it was obviously a sellout. It was a chance for people who don't have a season ticket to go to the game. Obviously, you and your dad have got season tickets. So you live in Leeds, so you can't get every game. But you don't really go to all the cup games, do you? It's more league games you go to. But when it's a cup game, it's a chance for, and it's fair enough, it's a chance for families to go, people who can't get a ticket normally,
the kids,
stuff like that. Kids go,
normally,
but I was reading a lot on Twitter last night that there was a lot of fans, because we weren't playing good, there was a lot of fans who weren't happy about the performance, saying, it's shite, this, blah, blah, and moaning about the performance. And it's like, hang on a minute. Like, it sounds bad because everyone's got the right to an opinion. It's like, you've turned up to a cup game. It's obviously going to be a different team, a worse team. Just calm down, like. Yeah. I don't think there shouldn't be. Everyone can moan. Christ,
I think
we play bad, but it's like I don't. You've got. It's hard because I feel like I'm singling people out. I don't think you can just randomly turn up to a game and just start shouting abuse at how bad it is. When we're sat fucking third in the league. Do you know what I mean? Just because we're having a bad performance in a cup game, you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. And this is why I don't really like going to cup games, because you get like, I don't like going. It's like your average everyday fan type of thing, like
your armchair fan.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and it's I'd probably get slated for saying it if all our followers. I'd probably get absolutely slated for saying if I'm being opinionated and all that. But I'm like, well, that's why I don't like going, because you sit there and you know what happens at the home games, the league games. Everyone knows everyone because we all got season tickets. But when it's all randomers, it's like, fucking hell, man. Like, just calm down. Like, it almost ruins the atmosphere for other people. And I did actually read, I know it's on Twitter, I don't know how true it is, but I did read off of numerous people that there was one guy who got removed. The stewards came and removed him because he was stood up singing, and people around him weren't, but he was stood up singing, and people had complained that he was annoying them and ruining it. And I'm thinking, man, what is that all about? Peter Page getting removed, kicking and screaming.
hey, I tell you, he was getting told off because when the penalties went on, that. To be fair, while we're on this point of the fans and stuff, like, and the non-regulars, so to speak, half of them seemed to leave at the end of the game, and not realising that it obviously went straight to pens, and then
it would have been me, mate, after the last podcast.
and then the ones who had got up to leave and then realised that it was pens just decided to just jump in any random seat that had been left, and then some people were stood up and me and my dad were trying to. Because it was where we sit, we're closer to the Gallagher end of the Milburn stand. So, pens.
I'm guessing you took your season tickets for the game.
Yeah, we were sat in the same seats. So, we had to look over to the left to the Leazers end for the pens, but the amount of people that were stood up and around, barely could see how the pens were going in, and we had people behind us sort of trying to get us to sit down because we were trying to peer up above the people ahead of us. So
that just highlights it.
They're just the sort of the fair weather fans, maybe that's a bit armchair fans, whatever we want to call them. But there was an element of that. There was an element of that for sure.
It is hard. It's hard to call. It is hard to call them that because a season ticket and home ticket, they are expensive. Some people
like gold dust now as well.
Exactly, mate. They're you can't get them. So this is the only time for people to go and watch the game. But the only little criticism is, if you're going to watch the game, don't just shout how shit it is. because it's not a 4-0 battering of some team.
Yeah.
Go on.
Do you think part of that in this game specifically is because obviously there'll be people going to that cup game and they'll be absolutely buzzing, like, because of the season we've had so far, and they'll be watching it on the telly and seeing these like magnificent performances, great results, and they're just so excited for the game that they've managed to get a ticket to, and then the game they've managed to get to is a poor performance. It is a different team. It's a bit flat, and
I think that's what it is, mate. I think you've hit the nail on the head. That they're thinking that they're going to get what we see in the Premier League every week. They think, oh, we're going to see Wilson play, Bruno, Joe Linton, Willock, Trips, Botman, Shaw, the whole starting 11. But it's not going to be that. So you'd actually see it in the comments of like when the NUFC Twitter account releases the team. You see it in the comments saying, "Oh, like, what kind of a shit team is this?" and all that. It's like, just use your loaf a bit, man. It's like, how?
No, you've got a squad for a reason. Yeah,
exactly. It's not a. You're not going to a show. You know what I mean? It's like
Twitter as well, though. Like, it's a bit of a cesspool in it, so I don't know how much you can.
Yeah. No, you can't read too much into this, but the people, like you say, Pete, the people in the ground who were a bit disgruntled. I mean, yeah, I've talked quite negatively about the game. I was there. I think it would be only right to say that it was a poor game, but I can understand the reasons why it was poor because of, like we've described, the disjointedness of some of the players not playing with each other for a while, some of them who were just literally back from injury, who were just trying to get their match sharpness. So there's obviously reasons behind why the performance was poor. It's and I could understand at the time, I wasn't calling out any players while I was there necessarily. I was just trying to understand, or expect a little better from some, I think, while the game was going on. I think I was particularly disappointed with Sir Maximin because I know he has had some cameos before that game and he's starting that one against Palace. It's the sort of game you would expect him to just want to completely take control of, and he failed to do that, and that's the disappointing thing. But generally speaking, I can understand why the performance was as disjointed as it turned out to be. But yeah, then we had our chances. I know we haven't really talked about some of the ones in the 90 minutes that we had. Obviously, the Miggy effort when he was played through by Bruno,
Chris Wood and Dan Burn.
Dan Burn, yeah.
Yeah, there was some decent efforts as well. It obviously came from the quality that Trippier brings from set pieces.
What do you think about Chris Wood's chance? Because I think he should have buried it. I think he should have finished it. I know it was a tight angle, but he's a striker. I think he should have finished it.
It was. I think that you could see he was trying to go for the keeper's legs. I think he was trying to get it under his legs at the near post because the keeper 9 times out of 10 you'd back the keeper at the near post to make a save because they make themselves so big and make the angle so narrow. But he had more time. I think it was very rushed.
It a little bit.
It was a snatch. Effort, yeah. And I don't know if it was just the thing is we can't say it's a lack of form necessarily because he's literally coming into the game on the back of scoring a really good goal against Southampton. So. But he rarely got a sniff. Did Wood in the game, and
I do think as well. Yeah. Though, it's almost a bit like Manquillo. He's still trying to push himself that little bit more to get more game time. Obviously, Chris Wood comes on 80 minutes every game, near enough 75, 80 minutes. I think he's still trying to impress. He's probably fighting for his place to stay at the club because he knows it's a bit give and take. If he starts putting some bad performances in, it's going to be out the door. So I think he's still trying to, which rush of blood. I need to bury this, put my laces through it instead of just being a bit more calm and a bit more reserved and pick his finish. I think you're right. He snatched at it, which could be a massive, like a panic on the ball. Oh shit, he has me chance, best take it. Fucked it up again.
Yeah, because he had nothing. Like the best strikers we know, they can go 80 minutes without having a sniff, and then they get one chance and they bury it. Wilson is
That's
that
the
kind
job,
of striker.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
the job.
Whereas
I would say, to be fair though, I'm not sure I agree that he should have buried it. It's a tough opportunity. I think
I'm probably being a bit too harsh.
he didn't take it well.
Buried it.
I agree, he didn't take it well, but
I think I think it should have been. I think you should have made the keeper do a lot more. Maybe.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a fluff. To say he should have buried it, I'll take that back. But I think he should have made more of it. I'll say. What does it say? What does it say in my little website bio? More opinionative than informative. Hit the nail on the head.
there's some
big opinions so far in it.
you're living up to your name. Yeah.
Where's it, mate?
Let's while we're talking about the overall team performance, I just had a few notes that I made. One was that we still kept a clean sheet, even though we made all these changes. We had a bad performance, which is a really good thing, and obviously ultimately leads to us going through to the next round. We were obviously, you've already touched on Tom, a lot better after the subs came on, and we've basically already said it emphasises what we've talked about in previous podcasts about the lack of depth in the squad. And I think that's the big thing for me if we're going to get Europe, if we're going to play in Europe next season, if we're going to go on a cup run this season, is we need to replace these players that are coming in. It's not necessarily players to come straight into the starting 11. It's the likes of your Mankios who come in for trips need to be a slightly better standard. And Pete, you just reminded me there that obviously it came out in the news this week that the club have injected another 70 million. However,
money.
How much of that is obviously available for transfers is up for debate because they're trying to angle it as infrastructure and stuff like this. But either way, I mean, it's a massive positive. Is there anything you wanted to specifically touch on with that, Pete, or should we move on to the shootout?
I think it's just it was good to see. It was a little article on it, and it was nice that it wasn't just Newcastle are injecting another 70 million into the club. Every single person who was against the Saudis, against Newcastle, is going to go, just buying more players, blah blah blah. It was nice for it to say it's going into the infrastructure, into the training facilities, into this, into that. It's not getting 70 million just splashed on players at all. It's all about building up the club again. We go on about the lack of depth in the team. There was also a massive lack of depth in staff at the club, in facilities at the club. There was a lack of depth throughout, and it seems to be that the lack of depth in the squad is not bottom of the list, but there's other priorities within the club itself, as in like all your medical staff, your liaison officers, just things like that. I don't know all the technical terms, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Things like the gym. Eddie Howe spoke on his podcast the other night again that he wanted another room for half time. He wanted another room for his players to go in instead of sitting there getting bandaged up and stuff like that. He wanted another room so he could have them focused, a whiteboard, a TV, so everyone was listening, not pissing about with bandages and stuff like that.
The shitties and that, yeah.
Exactly, aye. So it's that 70 million is good. That, and it was Darren Eales as well who came out and made the statement that it's getting injected into the club to lift it up.
I think there's been many times people have said how we basically had a championship squad at the point of the takeover. Yeah. But it is becoming more and more apparent that we had pretty much League One standard, like club infrastructure, training facilities, everything like that. Shocking. And obviously Ashley run it on like a shoestring budget and just did the basics to make sure the club kept going. But these guys want to get up to where the Man Cities and the Chelseas are. So there's a massive gulf there they've got to get over, and that will obviously cost money. But we can see it already have taken place with the likes of the jobs that are like getting people coming in that we didn't even know. Well, we either didn't know there wasn't somebody doing that job already.
We didn't even know
that the job existed.
We didn't know that role existed.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how we go ahead and spend the money as well, because stuff like club infrastructure, I'm pretty sure, doesn't go against FFP as the rules stand at the minute. So, I mean, that might be another reason as well. Like I've just said, it's not the rules at the minute, but there's obviously people that are trying to change things to prevent us from becoming a substantial force within the Premier League. So whether the club are worried that they're going to make changes to the FFP rules and that stuff like that might then count to how much you can spend, the same way it does on transfers, and we just want to sort of make sure we get it done now.
Liverpool are getting taken over by billionaire Saudis, so they'll bend them rules again. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oil.
But then again, I forgot Liverpool were against Saudi oil money.
Well, it's like the Man U fans in it that don't realise they're already invested heavily in Man United.
It's absolutely pathetic.
All right, let's get back to the Palace game, because after the 90 minutes,
here, lads. Could have been another full episode about this.
So we get to the pen shootout. I mean, there's two main things here for me, Tom. Obviously, you were at the match, so I don't know if there's anything you want to pick up on. But the two main things, number one, is, well, before Bruno's pen, is there anything you want to pick up on? Because he's our last pen taker, isn't he? Botman misses his, but...
Yeah, Botman missed his. Obviously, we made the subs to get... and we used all 5 of our subs, so we had Almiron and Willock come on after those. The trio came on. And so obviously, I was looking at those players and thinking of those guys coming on, which were coming on to potentially be involved in the pens. And obviously, Trippier was one which I was confident that he would take a pen, and he buried it. And obviously Bruno was another that I thought would be involved in the pens. I was surprised, to be honest, that Botman went up as well. I have to say, I didn't expect him to be involved in taking a pen, and it wasn't a great pen, obviously. Pretty much down the middle. One, obviously, Chris Wood. I feel I should mention for confident first penalty. That was great to see him get that one and bagged it very, very nicely. But yeah, the surprise with some of the other choices of Botman taking one was at that moment as well. Seemed a bit of a strange one.
Did Trippier take one?
Yeah,
we
Trippier
just
took Joelinton, obviously. Joelinton.
I don't know what's funny.
Oh God, how Trippier buried his pen, but I think you're busy on Tinder, mate. So
miles away. Sorry, lads.
Nah, you're all right. Joelinton obviously bagged his penalty very nicely as well. And yeah,
are you surprised Miggy?
I was glad Joelinton took one.
Yeah, that was great for his confidence for that. He got up and bagged his for sure.
What did you say there, Sam?
I was just saying, were you surprised Miggy didn't take one, especially ahead of Botman?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I must admit, on form, the thing is though, you naturally look at pen takers and you tend to go for your forwards and your midfielders first. Like that's normally what you'd expect to see. Defenders taking them, you'd end up being a bit further down the pecking order. I would
don't
say.
mind with with
Go on, Sam,
the,
sorry.
like Botman and Shea, both of them, obviously the way they can hit a pass. I wasn't that worried when he stepped up. The only thing
Exactly
is
the same.
with him being a
Exactly
young
the same.
lad.
I thought he was going to put his foot through it and just bury it.
Yeah, but he doesn't, does he? He kind of like, and he went down the middle as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
Made it very easy for the keeper.
I was expecting Botman to just put his laces through it, proper old school, defender's pen, bang. But
Yeah,
he's only young.
That's what we've seen with
probably
Joe
why
Linton.
keeper doesn't move.
Yeah, no, I think the keeper, maybe you're right. Yeah, he second guessed that he was going to be a little hesitant. But we've seen it left-footed Joe Linton burying it. You'd think Botman left-footed going up would do similar, but it was not to be. But obviously, in the meantime, all the Palace ones that had been taken. Obviously, the Milivojevic one, as we know, he's a very renowned penalty taker, and his Palace career, he'd had a pretty solid record of scoring pens for them. And then, so him going up first, I thought, he was either going to be first or last pen taker. It was obviously great that Pope got a real good hand to that one, because
It was a very strong hand, that one. A good save, that. Really good save.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't necessarily a bad pen for Milivojevic because it had power to it. But great save from Popey on that one. And then the other ones were. I mean, Pope obviously really good saves, but more so the quality of the Palace penalties was really really crap, to be honest.
We were raving about Nick Pope. Obviously, saving 3 pens, fantastic. But I think Milivojevic was the only sort of good pen which made a good save. I think the other two were poor pens. Obviously, you've got to make the save, but it helps when they're poor pens.
Yeah,
just to take the shine off Popey.
Talking about poor pens, though, let's talk about Bruno.
Oh, I don't want to talk about Bruno.
Obviously, listen, we all love the kid, and we went through, so it doesn't matter. But what was that?
I think he second guessed himself, mate. Which I was saying to Pagey before we came on. I think he changed his mind halfway through and then panicked and didn't know what he was going to do.
Run up, though. That run up.
I don't understand it.
No.
But then the kid from Palace, the last one, kind of did a similar run up, and then he fucked it up as well.
It was like a mix of Ivan Toney and Jorginho.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of that run up for sure. Just
Shearer needs to have a word, doesn't he?
Exactly.
That was as I was walking out the ground. I was passing the statue of Shearer, and I just asked my dad, what would Shearer make of them pens? And I know Shearer, he's also missed key penalties in shootouts before, so he's
always put your foot through it.
But he did always put his foot through it. He never messed about with this whole fancy run up.
All right, this whole thing, and it sounds bad, but there's a lot of the foreign players that come over here do stuff like that. It's true, though, isn't it?
Won't get cancelled, yeah.
No, I don't mean that. However, the Premier League is obviously it's a tough, hard game in England. English football, it's solid. Like it's man to man. But you watch some of the Spanish leagues, the French leagues. You think the players dive around in this league? You see they're over there, and it's bad. Like, and for me, it's the same with penalties. Maxi's bad for it, trying to do stupid run-ups. When you look at players like Jorginho, it's like a good old. It sounds proper Brexiteer here, like, but a good old English penalty. Just run up with it and smash your foot through it, mate.
Right, when we come,
what would Jeremy Corbyn do? But no, do you get what I mean though? Like people like Alan Shearer and stuff like that. Your Gerrards, your Lampards, just smash it. If it gets saved, get saved. Smash it.
Yeah. The thing is,
we'll bookmark this
it's not.
after the World Cup when one of the England players does one of them run-ups and then Pete comes on after.
Got all English penalty.
Yeah. I'll sit here with me can of Tetleys in wearing a waist beater and a bulldog on my arm.
So obviously Nick Pope gets us through that game. And just as we're talking about England, that's obviously going to have helped Gareth's eyes. Even if he doesn't start, he might get brought on for any potential pen shootouts.
We have got the best defensive record in the league. Has to play.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he does, but...
Yeah, he does for me, but obviously we've got to call out that there's a style in which Southgate wants to play with being able to be comfortable from the back, playing out from the back. And as much as Pope is a fantastic keeper, shot stopper, and everything else, his distribution is still a little bit suspect. I mean, he wasn't. He's getting better at it. He's definitely, can throw the ball out quite comfortable and just roll it off to the centre halves in front of him, at least in our team, who are more comfortable with the ball at feet. In terms of an England level, expecting him comparing him to Pickford, I think Pickford maybe edges him on being able to. Well, I say edges him. He is a far better keeper with the ball at feet, I think. But on form, yeah, I would love to see Pope be number one for England at the World Cup.
Yeah, and like I said, like potentially he gets subbed on for the pens, which, I mean, I'm never a fan of that happening because you don't want to come on cold in a pen shootout. But
yeah, it improved at the World Cup, if you remember.
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, he did.
And he won them the shootout for Holland. So, but I get what you mean. It is a bit of a situation that we've seen it backfire as well, haven't we? In I think it was the League Cup.
It was Chelsea
final.
last season. Wasn't it?
It was a Kepa that came on.
Kepa, yeah, and then he obviously messed up in the shootout and
that
lost.
went west.
So I see what you mean. Yeah, don't like a Kepa. Yeah, it can work both ways.
Just while we're talking about England, the squad's just been announced. Well, a few hours ago. I don't know if you want to talk about some of the surprise inclusions and people who didn't make it. Obviously, the big thing for this podcast is that Callum Wilson got the call. He's in there, he's going. And
buzzing for him.
We have 3 Newcastle United players going to the World Cup for England.
Should have been 4 with a mighty Dan Burn, by the way.
Yeah, well, do you want to just talk about that then? Because the defenders who've got in ahead of him include Harry Maguire, Eric Dyer, and for me, Connor Cody's even not.
Connor Cody, they were raving about Connor Cody because he'd behind the scenes at the Euros, he was a very a little leader. Apparently that's what he was. So it's good to have players like that. The same with Henderson. I don't think Henderson will play much, but he's a leader.
No,
it's good to.
He's definitely picked some characters like that.
He's a scummy Mackham, but you've got to take it. But it's back to the Dan Burn. Sorry, Paige. Back to the Dan Burn thing. Due to the lack of players due to injury, I think Dan Burn. I think he should have gone. A lot of people won't agree. This was his last chance. He's not going to get another chance. It is. I do think he should have gone. Maguire doesn't start for Man United. He might be one of Southgate's little, I don't know,
cronies,
little pets, but he shouldn't be there. Dan Burns, he's a left-footed centre-half who can play left-back. Okay, he might not fit into Southgate's way of playing, which we all think is horrendous. But to take someone like that, who's a centre-half, a big 6'7" centre-half, who's solid. Okay, he's not quick. We know he's not quick. He's slow on the turn. But if you want to bring him on in the last 10 minutes just to shore up the defence, to not concede, he's ideal. Whereas, I'm not being funny, Maguire is an absolute liability. So, not having him for me. Dan Burn should be there. That's it. Maguire shouldn't, Dan Burn should. Black and white tinted glasses.
That would be a huge call just on the basis of Maguire's previous England career to be then dropped for Dan Burn, who's not got a cap. But there's potential. There's potentially other players that he could have replaced in there. I know we look at the team and there's only really one true left-sided defender or left back in Luke Shaw, and Trippier will likely have to fill in that position if there's any injuries, or even may start there ahead of Shaw if they want to start Trent as right back. I think that's a potential issue, in that Burn could have, been an option to fill in if required.
Although Ben White got a call up, that was sort of unexpected.
He's had a great season.
Yeah, he has had a good season.
Yeah, it's good to see at least a few of these players being picked on the basis of form. Some of them, we must admit, have surprised us on the fact that they've barely had a minute of football. And
I thought Gareth Southgate was only picking on form.
Well,
let's just mention then James Maddison got the nod. Obviously in great form. It was just hotly debated whether he'd make it. He's probably the standout. And then you look at, two places to his left, and there's Calvin Phillips, who's played 19 minutes of football this season. So he's obviously contradicted himself a bit there. Interestingly, just while we're on the topic of England, Conte mentioned that Harry Kane is a bit fatigued at the minute, and I think he still played in the cup game.
He did, yeah.
Well, at least some minutes, yeah.
So he got a big chunk of minutes.
That's not great for England going in, but could be good for Callum Wilson.
Well, the argument I'd have on that front, if Kane is fatigued as he is, I know he's not the type of player who would accept being rested, but you could, looking at the strength of our group and the teams we have in there, there's a big shout to say that Kane could sit out a chunk of them group games, and Wilson would be more than capable of playing up front and getting goals against the likes of Iran and maybe even the US. I think the Wales game, due to the nature of that one being a derby game, would probably suggest having Kane being in that one. But I would say Wilson's more than capable of stepping in and giving Kane a bit more time to recover from this fatigue for the later rounds of the competition.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're all over the moon that Wilson's got the call up. Absolutely buzzing for him. His last chance. He's called up the World Cup. Absolutely over the moon for him. On the flip side, you're worried he's going to get injured and come back at Christmas crocked. Fingers crossed he doesn't, obviously. But we have got the thing that Harry Kane's going to basically play every minute, unfortunately, because I think Wilson's the only other out-and-out striker we've got. The other players play on the left, on the right. There doesn't seem to be anyone through the middle. A proper poacher, apart from Kane and Wilson. Wilson likes to run at them, dink it past them, run behind.
Yeah.
Kane, for me, especially this season, Kane starting to drop very deep, I think.
Yep.
He does. He's not on the line of the defenders. We all know how good a finisher he is. He's an absolutely fantastic striker. He's got a very good chance of breaking Shearer's record. But I'd love to see Callum Wilson get some decent minutes in the bag. I don't think he will. We all know what happened to Ivan Toney in the Nations League. But he's mature enough. He knows his job. Southgate doesn't need to teach him anything. He doesn't need any guidance. He just needs to go on the pitch and do his job. Teams like I understand we're playing Iran in the first game. Kane's obviously going to start. But, for example, if we were playing Iran in the last game of the group stages, would be... I'd play Wilson all day. That's fair enough. Okay. If we were sitting top of the group comfortably, you'd be like, Wilson, go and do it. But Southgate won't do that. We all know he won't do that. He's got his favourites, and he won't do that. We kind of go on just playing one striker all the time, just one man, just change it up. It's almost like he hasn't got the bottle to do it. The Nation League was an absolute perfect time to do it with Ivan Toney, with Tammy Abraham. They don't get the chance. Okay, Tammy hasn't been in great form. Ivan Toney wasn't good. Just go and let him do what he can do.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be interesting to know actually why Tony hasn't had the nod, because he's in form and he went to the Nations League games.
Gambling, mate.
So is
and
he?
He's a great pen taker as well.
I think it's sort of
has Gareth took him to the Nations League to have a bit of a look at his character in and around the squad and stuff, and he's thought, nah, he's not for me. Him like
maybe, but then
Go on, Pete. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say on the character front, you make a good point, but then a lot of people were saying that James Maddison was pretty much zoned out with the England team based on his character and that he wasn't the right character fit. Obviously, great that he's turned that around and that view around to get a call up for the World Cup, and justifiably so on form.
Do you think the Ivan Toney thing, one thing I hasn't mentioned, it's obviously came out in the press lately that he's under investigation for gambling over the past 7 months on Premier League football. Personally, I think that's got something massive to do with it.
I do.
Yeah,
it has to play a part. It has to play a part. You couldn't take someone who's been gambling on the teams. For all we know, he's gambling on Brentford to lose. He's gambling on himself to get a card. You never know. But if he's going to the World Cup and he's thinking, England are going to beat off USA, yeah. Do you know, you can't take someone like that, can it?
I don't reckon he's got his betting app open in the changing room, putting the bets on.
On the bench.
Sticking a $5 on a weekend. Hey, we should get him in our betting. But you know what I'm saying,
tells
though?
him to warm up and he jumps on to get a yellow card.
It's just what I mean. You never know. He could be. He could have a gambling addiction. He could be on the blowout of people at home saying, back me to get a card first half. You never know.
Right,
you're laughing. Honestly,
you
never know, right? No, you're laughing, but you never know. He could well be doing that. You can't take someone like that, man.
We'll just have to throw in the caveat there that this is. We can't substantiate these claims, and that nothing's been proven.
There's no evidence to back up any of
no
that.
evidence.
It's only in the press. What, are you worried in case fucking FIFA start investigating St James's Pod or something like? This is all. It's all came out in the press, right? Ivan Toney's released a statement on it, and I don't know who else did. I don't know if Brentford released something as well. It might be nothing. He might be playing at the weekend. Don't know.
I think for me, it's more to do with
innocent and proven guilty. But
I think it's more to do with Southgate kind of bowing down to the pressure from the media and stuff like that. Like if he hadn't took Wilson, there'd have been a lot of backlash. If he hadn't took Maddison, a lot of backlash. And then similar with Trent Alexander-Arnold, because I don't think he fancies him at all. But with the other right backs being out,
exactly.
If he didn't pick him, he'd have got a right backlash. So.
Let's
just
Phillips,
quickly move on.
We didn't really mention Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's like, what can you say? He's played 19 minutes this season, so he obviously should not be going to the World Cup. But
did play well for England. He did play well for England. But like you say,
I rate him massively as a player. But
if Southgate's picking on form, you can't go off 20 minutes of form. And when he's just come back from, I believe it was 2 months out with a shoulder injury.
Oh, it's been a while. It's a strange one for me.
He played last night, but oh well.
Yeah.
One morning.
Well, let's move on to the other results in the Carabao Cup, seeing as that's what we're meant to be talking about. Arsenal are out, Chelsea are out, West Ham are out, Spurs are out.
Liverpool got through by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
Aye,
and there's some big teeth on Klopp's head as well. So,
hey,
yeah, I mean, it's gonna. I think Man U are 0-0 at half time, aren't they? Yeah,
let me check.
So, it's going to be another hour or so till the draw, I think. But
it's opening up a little bit, isn't it?
Who would you want? Because this is
Gillingham, mate.
Yeah, it is opening up. Gillingham.
I mean, Gillingham, Charlton. I'd take
non-Premier League team.
I'd take at this point a non-Premier League team only just because. It'll be just after the World Cup, and although saying that, I'm not sure if the Football League games still happening throughout the World Cup, or they've been postponed as well.
Yeah, I think it's just the championship. The championship's been postponed. Although I think Sunderland and West Brom are going to play because it got agreed between the two clubs. I think Sunderland are playing 2 games during the World Cup. They've got two players going there. They've got Bailey Wright for Australia, and they have got Juicen Bennett for Costa Rica. He's only a kid, that Juicen Bennett, but I think they've agreed. I think both. I don't know how many other clubs are doing it, but I know Sunderland are playing. I think they're playing West Brom, and I'm not sure who else, because both clubs agreed to play a couple of games just so they don't have that congested fixture stage.
I'm not sure if League One and League Two then are playing regular fixtures, but that'd obviously, if we wanted a Charlton or a Gillingham, and they are carrying on playing through the World Cup, they'll obviously have the fitness advantage over us if we were to draw them and have to play them like pretty much straight after the World Cup first game.
Oh, right.
Game
Sorry,
back.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
That would potentially be a little banana skin if we were to draw one of those teams. But if we drew a Premier League team, obviously we're in the same position as each other in having not played any games for a length of time. So but at the same time, you would fancy us to go through, especially if we were getting a home game against one of them sides.
Would you rather take a draw against a non-Premier League team away, or someone like Forest at home?
Away for me, non-Premier League team away. We're not the same team, touch wood. We're not the same team we were back in the day, where we'd go down to Stevenage and get tanked 5-0.
Yeah, I just don't want players getting lumps kicked out of them again. But
that is a very good point. Very good point. Throw the cat amongst the pigeons there, Sam, lad.
I'll ask you another question then. This one might be a bit easier. Do you think we can win the cup?
Why not?
I mean, you were third favourites behind City and Liverpool. So yeah, I don't see why
we should be ahead of them.
There's no reason why we can't. We're sat third in the league, best defensive record, but that's with our starting 11. Can we afford to play our starting 11 in the league and our starting 11 towards the latter stage of the cup? It remains to be seen. I think that could be our banana skin. We don't have the squad depth. We'll obviously need a bit of luck, but what would
you
people
got to remember
rather
as well, though, the January window.
Yes,
January window is going to be very close after the
We've
World
obviously
Cup,
got Isak to come back as well. But what would people rather? Europe. I mean, we're all saying Champions League, but bit of a stretch. Europe or a cup? Me personally, a cup.
Well, the cup gets us into Europe
But you
anyway.
get Europe. Yeah, you get Europe with the cup. So
Yeah, but okay, I'll rephrase it. Champions League. Do we aim for Champions League?
yeah, I know what you're saying. Like,
I mean,
prioritize the highest.
For me, it's a cup.
Well, yeah, I think that the Champions League we may be a little bit too early for that. If you can be.
Imagine having the squad depth to be playing cups, league, and Champions League.
We haven't done the 20. Richie coming on against Barca, do we?
You know what I mean? So for me, it's the cup all day. I want to see Newcastle win the trophy. You know what I mean?
Here's a question for you then. Would you rather take City at home in the next round, where they're going to have a lot of international players coming back from the World Cup, because the likelihood is we'd have to play them if we want to win the cup? So would you rather take them now? And have a good chance, or try and avoid them and hope they get knocked out?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you can't exactly try to avoid them, but
well,
if you could have it your way.
Pep takes every game pretty seriously, so I think he would still try and field as strong a team as he possibly could. I think in the case of if we got Liverpool, I would say go ahead, because as you've seen from his their lineup last night, that they played a lot of youth players in there, and I don't think Klopp's too bothered about the League Cup this time round as he was maybe last season. Just on he needs to improve the league form. So yeah, it's a tough call, that one. I would say I'd rather we drew out of the two teams. I'd rather draw Liverpool in the next round at home than City, but I can see the reason why you would want City at that point as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, to answer my own question, I'd rather avoid them as much as possible. But I do fancy us though. If we get a home fixture, I fancy us to beat anyone. Because I think if we got the likes of City and Liverpool, Eddie Howe puts out as our strongest team, and I fancy us to beat anyone with our strongest team at home. So I think we've got a very good chance of winning the cup. But even just making it to Wembley would be amazing. So let's hope this continues. Any other thoughts before we wrap this one up, guys?
I don't think so.
No, it was just good to see us win a pen shootout for the first time in a while.
Got that right, mate.
Yeah,
got that right.
To be honest, I really thought we'd thrown it away, especially when Bruno put his over. I thought that's it, we're out. Nick Pope to the rescue. So, Nick, if you're listening, cheers, lad.
Cheers, Nick. Thanks very much. Well done with the World Cup.
Cheers,
Nick. So next episode, we'll be looking ahead to the last game in the league before the World Cup, which is Chelsea at home. So join us for that one. If you like this episode, give us a follow, give us a like, look for us on all podcast platforms, on YouTube, and follow us on social media.
It's a good job you've got. It's a good job you've got all this emphasis in your voice at the minute, mate, to get all the followers. You know what I mean? It's very encouraging. Okay, now.
Just feels beggy. Feels beggy.
Smash the like, smash the follow, retweet it, get with famous, get with loads of coin. Let me take our other true Geordies from there.
I know, he's trying to be the new true Geordie, true Sam. Here we are.
Not after what he did last week. Anyway, let's leave that
Come
there.
back, mate.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Call him out.
See you later.